Body shot. Ooh, that hurt, didn't it?
When the adrenaline starts pumping and you know what you can do with this right hand, it's hard to not do that.
Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. UFC San Diego has arrived. Chito Vera versus Dominick Cruz. Long awaited, highly anticipated. We're ready to rock. We got a lot of fun fights. We got some rebooked fights being back on the card. We have some bouts that were scheduled for a little bit later in the future, brought to fruition a little bit earlier. And I think that's because we're going to have another sleeper card on our hands for the good folks of California. So, without any further ado, let me bring in the man that I talk all my fights with, my co-host, the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber, AJ, brother. You are ahead by one pick on the tally on the year. How are you feeling, my man?
Ooh, I'm feeling good, Derick. I'm feeling really good about the whole situation, man. But this week, folks, we got a couple different picks for you, man. A whole different lineup going, and I think you're correct, Derick. A full sleeper. We're gonna have a sleeper card. A lot of bangers on this one, man. A lot of names that have kind of people forgotten a little bit about, but there's still heat in this card, man. It's gonna be a fun one. How you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling great, man. And you're right. There are some names people have forgotten about. There are some new names. There's some debutees, and there's some people here that I think are really fighting for their UFC contract. You know what I'm saying? So that's always a fun time. Back against the wall type situation. Fun for us to watch. Probably not fun to be in that position, clearly. But that's neither here nor there. So, folks, we are doing it a little bit differently this week, right? And we have, like I said, some rebooked fights that we've already kind of covered over the last couple of weeks. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 7 total picks today. A lot of picks for you guys. The more picks, that means the more money that you get to make, right? So 7 picks. We're going to go over 5 in depth, and then 2 of them we're just going to quick cover, do all of that fun stuff. But before we do that, folks, you know I have to do a quick check-in, and we're actually going to do it unconventional style. I'm going to go straight to our page, straight to the page that you need to be checking out, and that's called the Free Thinkers Club, aka Bloody Water Podcast, right? And I want to take a quick look at what our subscriber numbers are, AJ. So let's take a peek. My man, 421 subscribers over there on the Free Thinkers Club. So, folks, we appreciate you. Thanks for rocking with us as always. And we said, get us to 420, because once we get to 420, the next step, 450, 500, 1,000. You know what time it is. Clearly, folks, you can see we got a lot of different videos for you guys. And I just wanted to make this quick run-in just one more time for you guys. So if you didn't know, if you got scared off by that symbol right there, Free Thinkers Club, that's us. That's us. That's all us right there. So if you scroll down, we got tons and tons of videos for you to ponder on, to gander on. AJ, my man, when you were recommending people over to the YouTube channel, are they ever saying, damn, you guys got a lot of videos? What's up with all the videos? What are you talking about?
Man, I talk about we got a lot of videos because we got a lot of stuff for you to make some money on, man. A lot of content, everything, whether you like the short clips, the long full episodes, either way, man, you want a TLDR, we got everything for you to make some quick cash and some smart cash over here too, man. Not just throwing money around blindly left and right, but some actual money with some hardcore, like in-depth information. That's why we got so many videos for you, man. A lot of different stuff to check it out, whether you got favorite fighters or new fighters or fighters you never even heard of. All check it out on there on the YouTube, even on the hub, man. BloodyWaterPodcast.com sends you right to the page where you can get all that info that I'm talking about, man.
Aptly said, brother. And I think that the most important thing is, like you said, go to the hub, BloodyWaterPodcast.com. That's where you get your whole entire fix at. Other than that, I do see we got a couple people that's rating us 5 stars over on the Apple Podcast. So kudos to you. Shout out to you. We appreciate you. All love right there. But AJ, the people aren't here for us to talk about the ins and outs of the marketing and whatnot. They want to hear picks. They want to hear TLDR, sleepers, the whole entire night. So I think it's fair that we just jump straight into it. Let's jump into the TLDR, brother. Or actually, let's pause. Let's do the housekeeping, right? You see that thing in the corner right there? We need to talk about it real fast, just real quick, AJ. Listen, I think these are your vibes, my man. You was a California man once upon a time, and these is giving off the Cali vibes. You got a poster review that we need to talk about here. Dom Cruz staring down Chito Vera. Chito looks menacing. Dom looks like he doesn't really want to be there for the photo shoot. That's okay. Let's talk about the colors. Let's talk about the poster. 1 to 10. What are you seeing? Score it for me, brother.
Man, this is a very old school poster. Like you said, Vera looks like he's advancing on him. Dom's looking like he's standing in line for coffee, just kind of pissed off, not really wanting to be there. That's right, brother. And, you know, I as much as this is an old school kind of like theme with just them two standing off, I dig the color scheme, man. Like you said, California vibes on deck right here. Blue with the ocean up to the gradient. It looks like you got a little sun, man. Kind of, I feel like there's a palm tree in there, but there's no palm tree, but it's still got that same vibe, man. I like this one. Not a ton. I'm not going to rate this a 10 or anything. I'm going to go still pretty high, though. I'm saying a 7.
Oh, you said high, and then he goes 7. All right, well, it brought us back down to earth. I'm going to give it an 8, brother. I think the color scheme alone can give it an 8. A little lackluster because there's nothing really popping on it, but the font's cool, the pictures is good, all that good stuff. And that's all you need to know. AJ, let's talk TLDR. All right, my man. So I said we were going to do it a little bit differently this week, and we are. And as you can see, folks, we got a ton of picks there for your pleasure. So, AJ, it looks like we're in consensus for the majority of these picks. However, we do have a couple of picks that we are kind of, going toe-to-toe on, head-to-head, I should say. So let's talk about the Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks first. First, Marlon Vera, or Marlon Chito Vera, I guess I should say. We got him pulling the win on the greatest bantamweight to ever exist in Dom Cruz, probably, who's never lost a fight that wasn't a title fight. Oh man, we're gonna have to explain ourselves a little bit later. We got David Onama over Nate Landwehr, the Glory MMA product. UFC debutante Yazmin Jauregui, and she is a former Combate champion right there. She's somebody I've had my eyes on for quite some time, so we're gonna talk about that one, of course. And then lastly, Bruno Silva, blindado. We have him over GM3. Now, AJ, when it comes down to the consensus picks, right? One more time. We have Chito Vera. We have David Onama. We have Yazmin Jauregui. And then we also have Bruno Silva. Those are pretty much, all of them are favorites in their fights, right? One unknown in Iasmin, right? That's the only unknown that we have here. However, there's a lot of tape. She's undefeated, 8-0, knockout artist. Come on, what are we talking about? Are there any one of those picks right there that gives you any pause that you want to talk about before we jump into the ones that we're kind of contested on?
Honestly, man, it's the unknown. It's the Jauregui versus what's her name? Yazmin Lucindo, I think, or Jasmine, however you say it. Yeah. That's the kind of one. Just because there's a lot of unknown going on right there, man. Lucindo has some heavy hips, good ground game, and if she gets on top, it might be a different story. But Jauregui's got a lot to answer for, or a lot to give back to the other Jasmine up there, man.
Absolutely, I'd say the same, man. The only other one that I'm slightly concerned about, and I'm not really concerned too much about the Jauregui fight. I think she's such a stud, such a talented prospect. But David Onama versus Nate Landwehr, simply because Nate the Freight, man, you know what I mean? He's a guy who can turn a fight around at any given moment. So we got experience versus a dude who is a young firecracker in David Onama, man. So we got a lot to talk about in just a few. But let's talk about the ones that we're a little contested upon, right? Which we do have 3 of them. So I got Azamat Murzakanov over Devin Clark, and I understand the unknown commodity of a Murzakanov versus a Devin Clark, who we've seen time and time again. However, I just think that Clark, he's had a little bit of adversity when it comes down to people who have real power in their hands and can stuff a takedown. If he gets the takedown, he's going to have his way with him, right? I think so. If he can keep him down there, it's going to be a long night for Murzakanov. But if he stays on the feet, brother, I think Murzakanov, even though he's a young, 11-1, 11-0 or something like that, real chance to win. What do you think?
Yeah, man, this one actually does give me a little bit. I was back and forth on this one a lot too, because I feel like Devin Clark does a lot better at heavyweight. He's back down to 205, back down to the class that he's having a lot of struggles with. But like you said, man, Murzakanov, however you say his last name, dude, this dude's a killer. So I feel like it's going to bring the best out of Devin Clark, really giving the push. And he's got a lot of experience where this is, I think, Murzakanov's 3rd fight in the UFC. I could be wrong about that. 2nd or 3rd fight in the UFC, not counting the Contender Series.
Second fight, brother. So
second fight.
Yeah, no worries, man. So yeah, that one's gonna be definitely interesting. Now we have a rebooking. This one, I'm not gonna lie, folks. We were in consensus last week. Ariane Lipski versus Priscila Cachoeira. However, the pause that I have is that Ariane Lipski, she missed weight. She said she had COVID, probably couldn't train properly, and they're just rebooking it a week later. I can't imagine you get that much healthier within a week. I'm gonna go flip my pick. I'm gonna pick Priscila Cachoeira, and I actually think, AJ, that there's a good shot that this fight ends within the distance, that Cachoeira is able to get it done with those heavy hands. Simply speaking, this is a pick going off of too many intangibles and the externals in the background going wrong. I don't like that. I do think Lipski is the more talented, more technical prospect, but that's neither here nor there. And then lastly, AJ, Nina Nunes versus Cynthia Calvillo. And if you remember, we broke down this fight a couple weeks back, and you would think I would have switched my pick at this point, because Calvillo, if she lands that takedown, it's game over. This is at flyweight too, not at strawweight. So Nina Nunes is a little bit at a disadvantage, but kind of same thing as the Murzakanov pick. If Nina Nunes can stay on her feet, I think she kind of just picks apart Calvillo on the feet. I know Calvillo praises her boxing, but Nina Nunes, literally, that is what she's known for. So what do you think about that pick?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel like both of these fighters, these are the ones we're talking about that need the fight, man. They both need to win big. And sometimes what's really doing it for me, I feel like Amanda Nunes, the GOATess, the greatest, one of the greatest ever do it, kind of takes precedent in that relationship, in that fight, fight team that they have going on over there. And Nina Nunes kind of gets put on the back burner, man. I feel like she's lost a lot of steam. Hopefully that's, for your pick anyway, Derek, hopefully that's not the case. But either way, I feel like there's a little bit that's just kind of missing sometimes. And that's why I'm going with Cynthia Calvillo, man, which also needs to win bad. 3 losses in a row. It's rough to see.
Well, given that there's a 1 pick difference in our total, yearly scorecards, and we have 3 different picks on this card, well, guess what, man? I think a lead just might change, man. Or it might get solidified. Who knows? But those are the picks for you, folks. So, consensus picks: Marlon Vera, David Onama, Yazmin Jauregui, and Bruno Silva are contending picks. I got Azamat Murzakanov. AJ's rocking with Devin Clark. I got Priscila Cachoeira. He's rocking with Ariane Lipski. And I got Nina Nunes, and he's rocking with Cynthia Calvillo. So, folks, just so you know, this is the TLDR. This is just the quick run around. This is kind of why we picked it, all that good stuff. If you want to know in-depth reasons on why we're going with, who we're going with, how we think we're going to get it done, prop bets, all that stuff, stick around and we will let you know all that information. And if you are saying like, this is it, I'm heading out, drop a like, subscribe, share the show with your friends. You know what time it is. Now, AJ, brother, that's the TLDR, all the good stuff. Let's talk about the sleeper fights though, man, because we got some good prelim fights on this action. So let's talk about it, brother.
Time for some fight night.
And if you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
All right, my man. I think it's only fair to say that the sleeper you chose is at a lighter weight class, but these are 2 assassins. These are 2 dudes who could really get the job done. And I'm not talking about outside of the distance. I'm talking about inside the distance right here, man. So let's talk about it. Ode Osborne versus Tyson Nam. So, if you're an OG fight fan, right, these are 2 of the newer guys, right? But if you're a newer cat who just started watching them the last couple of years, you might feel like, oh, man, I remember these guys. Ode Osborne's got a little more steam on his name than Tyson Nam does these days. But Nam, don't forget that right hand will put anybody to sleep. So AJ, talk to me. Why exactly is this your sleeper?
Man, Derek, this is my sleeper because I was hyped to see both of these dudes. This is one of those fights where they lock 2 pit bulls in a cage and just let them go at it, man. Both full pressure, full fight, going forward, W key all day long, where no guys are going to take a backward step, man. Ode Osborne, long, lanky, power, dude. This dude can knock anyone out. And same thing with Tyson Nam, like you said, right hand, big bombs. Left hand, he also has big bombs, man. This is going to be a very fan-friendly fight. You want to talk about a barn burner, man? I think this one, if this doesn't end within the distance, I'm going to be very upset because this one, man, has a lot to go on. And like you're highlighting right now, man, 38?
38 years old for Tyson Nam.
Woo, 38 years old for Tyson Nam, so he's got to get it done. But this is one of those ones where I don't think the age necessarily, and you can see that there's a big favorite for Ode Osborne going in this one. The age doesn't really affect Tyson Nam as much because he's usually a first and second round fighter. So he's looking to finish this one. If he doesn't get it done and then Ode Osborne, he's going to get the knockout too. Either way, though, man, knockouts on deck right now, man. It's going to be a very fun fight. Like I said, this is 2 basically locking 2 pit bulls in a cage, 2 mini pit bulls. They're 125 pound. Either way, still a big dog. But either way, man, going to be a lot of fun to watch these 2 go at it. Like I said, no backward steps. This one's going to be a blast to watch. Derek, you excited for this one? And then what's your sleeper?
I'm very excited for this one, man, just because I do think that there's a highly, highly likely, outcome that someone's getting knocked out. And you got to love those fights, man. But I have to ask you before I give my sleeper, who are you leaning towards in this fight?
Ooh, Ode Osborne. But, man, the thing is, Tyson Nam is very durable. And if it's one of those things, if you're cracking some dude with all you got and he's still standing there walking forward, it's a little disheartening. So Tyson Nam can get the knockout as well. And you see the experience, man, 12 and 1 for Tyson Nam, 11 and 4. So Ode Osborne is a little bit experience disadvantage, but he does have the youth and the vigor on his side, man.
And if you look at it, man, look at these 3 losses in his last 5. Sergio Pettis, right, current champion over in Bellator. Kai Car-France just fought for the interim championship, and Matt Schnell, who just pulled off the miraculous comeback when he fought. Who did he just fight? Sumaderji. That's right, man. So yeah, fun sleeper right here, folks. And for my sleeper, it's going to be more or less of the It's not of the knockout variety. I'm just going to say I got two people here who are willing to finish each other, who need to get a finish right here. You have one man stepping in on short notice who is a former Cage Fury champion. And I'm talking about Youssef Zalal versus Damon Blackshear. And this is going to be a fun fight because if you look at the discrepancy right here, you would just look at the last five, you look at the records, and you'd say, well, I don't think there's too much heat behind this. Why exactly are you choosing this as your matchup? But look at Youssef Zalal. Last three losses, Sean Woodson, the longest featherweight in the division. Sungwoo Choi, Sting Choi, man, that's a beast right there. And Ilya Tapuria. These are not bad losses right here. Look at wins against Peter Barnett, Jordan Griffin. Those are good wins. So when you look at the difference here, Damon Blackshear, this is a man who is willing to submit you at any given cost. This is a man who uses his length to get in on the inside, throw some crazy spinning kicks, close the distance, get his both hands locked behind your hips, and then start working some grappling, start working some jiu-jitsu. And he has a lot of success with it because if you look at a Damon Blackshear and you look at his methodologies, you will find out that in his last couple of wins, he has 2 rear naked chokes back-to-back, a guillotine choke, a rear naked choke, an arm triangle choke. Another rear naked choke, like triangle choke. Like this dude really does it. He really comes to grapple. And Youssef Zalal, if you've seen in his last couple of fights, he's been very wrestling oriented. So that is kind of the story, the archetype of this matchup that you have right here. You have a dude who's going to come in, who's going to try to grapple you, UFC debut, on short notice, really trying to make a name for himself. And then you have the Moroccan Devil, who's saying literally at this point of his career, he needs a win. You lost 3 in a row. You're moving down, making your bantamweight debut because all of the rest of his career, he's fought in featherweight and in lightweight. So the real story here that I'm interested in, AJ, is that Youssef Zalal is going to be big for bantamweight given that he's fought at 155 and 145. However, Damon Blackshear is already big for 135. He's already been touted as, look at this big 135, or huge frame. So the size advantage kind of cancels out in a weird way between these two, which means that the strength and the grappling is going to be really interesting to come out at hand. Do you think that this is going to be a striking battle, or do you think that these two are going to be grappling each other up?
I think this is going to be a washing machine fight, yeah, Derek. Bro. Up, down, on the feet, on the ground, everywhere you go. And like you said, Youssef Zalal, man, looking to come in and be the bigger guy, but Blackshear, 5'10" as well. Both of them, 5'10", same reach, basically. Blackshear has a little bit of a 0.5 reach advantage, but both switch fighters, man, this is going to be a very fun, very technical, like I said, washing machine style of fight.
And this is actually, I know the font's a little small on your end. Zalal got a 75-inch reach, 72.5 for Blackshear. So Zalal does have about a 3-inch reach advantage, which I think he'll be able to use very, very, he'll definitely be able to use that. But let's take a look here. It's kind of close, man. This fight opened up as a pick'em, and now Zalal's crept ahead a little bit, 88% by decision. We got some submission props here for Blackshear, though, man. So I think that he might be able to get it done. It's going to be a very interesting fight, but this is a dude you need to watch for, Damon Blackshear and the Moroccan Devil, Youssef Zalal, always, always. So those are your sleepers, folks, and we point out the sleepers, once again, not just because we're like, oh, this is just going to be a cool fight, just because these are like some of the most exciting fights that you don't know about the fighters that you need to figure out. These are the guys that are going to be taking the next step. Now, for your sleeper, Ode Osborne, he's got a little more of an opportunity to be the next guy than Tyson Nam does. But either way, man, these are the unknowns. So take those sleepers, make sure you highlight them on your prelims, and when you tune in on Saturday, you got to watch the fights. You dig what time it is. Now, AJ, it's time to really break down these fights. Let's talk some main card action, brother.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, my man. So, listen, we have Marlon Chito Vera versus the one, the only, the Dominator, right? Not really the Dominator, but Dom Cruz, man. The greatest bantamweight fighter of all time, maybe, right? If you really look at the man's credentials, if you look at his statistics, I mean, he's got a case to be made. So the thing about Dominick Cruz that I really like, man, footwork is still impeccable at his advanced age, I guess I should say. Experience is there a ton, right? He has a ton of experience. He's seen it all. He's done it all. The one thing that I think I've noticed this, and I don't want to blow anything out of proportion, but I do think that the chin has deteriorated just a little bit. He's kind of getting caught in situations where he wasn't getting caught before, getting rocked, recovering just fine. Like in his last win against Pedro Munoz, he got rocked twice, bad, but he recovered. He came back and he got the job done, right? When he fought Casey Kenny, I don't believe he got rocked too bad, but you could tell the power of Casey Kenny was really something he had to handle. Now, Chito Vera, this is a man who, it's a special story, right, AJ? Because we relate to the tenacity, the Goggins mentality, but also we've kind of watched his career blossom in front of our eyes. I want your quick take on what it's been like to see Marlon Vera kind of grow and advance throughout his career in the short, like what, 5, 6, 7 years we've been watching him. What do you think?
Yeah, man. Very short time frame for Chito Vera, and especially I think it was the big win over Sean O'Malley, the Sugar Show. Even though a lot, the Sugar Show fans don't really give him credit for the win, I really think that's kind of what put him in the spotlight. Like, oh, this dude's a real fighter, man, a real contender. He's in there to bang, and then every single fight leading up after that has just been banger after banger after banger. I know he had the loss to Jose Aldo, but other than that, that didn't really deter much of his fight status or his career status. And that's really what you want in your fight career, man. One of those ones where everyone's excited to see you win or excited to see you fight. Win or lose, either way, you're gonna have some fans in there, and it's been impressive, man. It's been motivating, if you will, in a certain kind of way to watch Chito Vera win, because not a lot of people for a long time were not having this dude's back, man. They were not really thinking about Marlon Vera as the dude anymore, But now, especially like you were saying before, Derek, when Dominick Cruz was saying, "I'm not fighting anyone behind me. I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight Chito Vera." All this stuff. Now that he's ahead and he's saying the same, or he's not saying the same, he's saying, "Oh no, I'll fight anyone." Like, that's what I like about him a lot, man. He doesn't care if it's a big risk or not. He doesn't give a shit, man. He's in it for the fight. He's in it for the glory, and it's pretty impressive, man, to see somebody who's not worried about what people are saying, or worried about his number, or worried about wins and losses. This dude's here to be a dog in the cage, and indomitable will. You want to talk about spirit, man. You want to talk it, and funny, man, funny. You see some interviews from this dude. He's a people person, man. He's he has friends. He's training out of Ruka. He has all this stuff that's going on. Very impressive fighter, man. I love to see the growth going through him, man. How are you feeling about Chito's rise to where he's at?
Well, to be fair, brother, I do think that while the Sean O'Malley win, quote unquote, it is a win. It's a win, right? While I do think that it definitely propelled him into a different level of stardom, I guess you should say, I think they put a chip on his shoulder more than anything. And the reason why I say that is because when Marlon Vera got the win and nobody credited him for the win, he was like, "Oh, y'all aren't counting this win as a win? Okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to show you what I'm really about then." And I think that's been that extra Ecuadorian chip on the shoulder where it's been, I'm going to be ready for a fight at all times. I'm going to beat everybody's ass in front of me. I don't care. We're not friends, all that good stuff. So while I definitely think that comes into play, the growth has been amazing because this is a dude who we've seen lose a bunch of times. This is a little similar to... Would you agree, AJ? This is a little similar to the Charlie Olive's story, right? Where it's like we've seen him lose, and now he's on this tear, and we're like, well, because we've seen him lose, do we really think that he can advance the way that he's advancing? Now, look at this is the biggest opportunity he's ever gotten in his career, and he's fighting number 8, right? And this is the biggest opportunity. So it comes down to this right here. Can all of the years of experience, can all of the detriment, the turmoil, can all of the setbacks all be the catalyst to advance him to the title opportunity that he has here? And this is the opportunity. So let's talk about the X's and O's here, AJ. The X's and O's come down to this. Dominick Cruz, this is a tactful man on his feet, right? Great with his hands. However, he's more of a boxer than he is a kickboxer. Marlon Vera gets hit a lot. He got hit a lot in his last fight against Rob Font. Even though he landed the more damaging shots, it looks like he barely got touched up at all. He got outlanded pretty heavily right there. Do you expect Dominick Cruz to outland Chito Vera in this 5-round fight?
If this was a younger Cruz, I'd say always, man. But now what you're talking about before with Dominick Cruz kind of getting a little chinny, I think his speed has also started to, maybe not chinny, but, the chin has started to, show signs of deterioration. Also his speed, that's what kind of worries me. The footwork, everyone's catching on to it. It's not this weird thing that nobody's ever seen before. And he's kind of just not lost a step, but lost like a quarter step. And that's what we were seeing in the Pedro Munoz fight, getting caught a lot more, getting read a lot more, getting predicted a lot more. So do I think Cruz is going to outstrike Marlon Vera? Probably. Yeah, probably. I'll say yeah. But what do you think?
Well, that's something I definitely anticipate. I think that Marlon Vera, he's a slow starter, right? He normally always loses round 1. And I think that's just getting reads, getting into the fight, all that good stuff. Dom Cruz, I think he's going to try to put a pace on him. The problem is, even though he gets outlanded, I do expect Marlon Vera to land the bigger shots. But you have to be able to hit Dominick Cruz. And that's the one thing that worries me about this fight is that even though Pedro managed to land a few big shots on Cruz, it wasn't like he landed a bunch of shots, you know what I mean? It's like he caught him a couple times early, and then that was really it. Cruz basically took over from there. Can Marlon Vera, with that walk-down style, manage to land on Cruz? Because if you think about it, isn't that not what Cruz wants the most? walk towards me so then I can counter strike and I could slip out the way and do all that. The problem is for Marlon Vera, or for Dominick Cruz, I should say, Marlon Vera has a ton of different kicks that he could throw out there as well. So he's not just boxing. That's the difference. He has so many different weapons. Teep kick, side kick to the head, big hooks, uppercuts, elbows, get in for the clinch, right? There's so many different paths. And you know Marlon Vera basically came into the UFC just as a jiu-jitsu guy. So all the paths to victory I think there's more paths to victory for Chito Vera, but I can see him not taking over until the later rounds. Now let's play the opposite. Can you see Dominick Cruz just being like, hey, y'all must have forgot who the fuck I am, and let me just show you how I dominate this man in a decision? Is that in the likely outcomes for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously always in the likely outcome. Do I see it being the more likely outcome? No. I mean, I see the big shots landing, doing more damage. But man, if Dominick Cruz, it's a weird thing too, because I feel like the UFC at this point isn't about running around and evading and staying classic defense like it kind of used to be. You know what I'm saying? Like when striking was looking good, everyone would be, like death by 1,000 touches. You get out, come back in, pop, 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 get out, dip again. Now it's a little bit more mixed, a little bit more kind of heavy knockout focus, a little bit. I don't know though. At the same point, that was back when we were a little more focused on just the Apex Center. Now we're bouncing around. It's going to be interesting to see how the judges feel about it, because that's really where Dominick's style comes into play. If he's going to do his style, you know, the weird footwork, the get off the center line, dip in, counter strike, dip out again, how do the judges see that playing out versus somebody who's walking you down, attacking, controlling the octagon, controlling the center of the ring? Will they be seeing that as an advantageous position? I don't really know, but I do see him being the faster, being the more fleet of foot fighter, if you will. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think that's the most likely outcome, because Marlon Vera oftentimes will just walk you down, kind of plod a little bit, and just be the war of attrition guy and just be like, I'm going to be more fresh than you. Come round 4, rounds 3, round 4, round 5, I'm going to start picking up the pace, so you better be able to hang with me. And given that this is a dude whose cardio is out the roof, 29 years old, always ready for a fight, kind of peaking in the prime of his career, Dom Cruz, 36 on the tail end, fighting for what he believes to still be his, because if you think about it, injury is the thing that really derailed him, right? Aside from the Cody Garbrandt loss, he never really lost a step, you know what I mean? This is Dominick Cruz that we're talking about after all. Very intelligent man. So do you see any value? Because we never even talked about it. The money line here, minus 250 for Chito Vera, plus 210 for Dom Cruz. Do you see value in throwing anything on the plus 210 for Dom Cruz, given that this, I mean, come on, like I said, one of the greatest bantamweights ever?
Ooh. I think if you're going to hedge the bet, Dominick Cruz 225 decision. I think that's the way. I mean, it's a little bit better than, because I don't think he's going to knock out Chito. I doubt he'll get a submission. They even see the 2,000 plus 2,000 submission prop. I think if you're going to throw it in, I would throw it on that plus 225 decision. What about you?
Well, it's actually interesting to me because I'm looking at the live odds now, and I would thought maybe they're going to start swelling more in favor of Marlon Vera, but they actually shrunk a little bit, just a little bit. Minus 240 now for Chito Vera, plus 200 for Dom Cruz. So you never know. By fight night, it could creep up more. It could be closer to, minus 150 type situation. So that's interesting to me because I think that there's a lot of hype behind Chito Vera right now. But I think the reason why I'm picking him to win specifically, I just think that he's going to be more durable. He's going to be there every moment of every round, and you're going to have to worry about that power because Rob Font has a little power behind him. Dom Cruz, I think it's fair to say, doesn't have that same power behind him. So how are you going to stop Marlon Vera from walking you down? That's really the question I have. But, you know what I mean? Dom Cruz, he's a very crafty veteran, man. So I like Chito Vera. The question here is a lot of people are saying that it's possible. Dom Cruz, he's only been knocked out once in his career, right? A lot of people are saying that Chito Vera, they could see him finishing within the distance, maybe later rounds, but finishing Dom Cruz. I kind of find it a little tough to see him finishing Dom Cruz, like finishing him. But then again, I never really thought he would do what he did to Rob Font, where Rob Font looked like he just got assaulted, a battery charge up by 3 different men who jumped him in a dark alley late at night. You know what I mean? I never thought that Chito could do that to Rob Font. So what do you like here, man? If we're rolling with Marlon Vera, are you liking the TKO here? Are you liking that plus 150 decision prop? Like, what do you like?
I like that plus 150 decision prop. It makes a little more sense to me just because I agree. I don't really see him finishing Dom. Can he? Yeah. Is it more likely to get the decision? That's what I think personally. So that's what I'm going to rock with. The decision prop, plus 150 for Marlon Vera. What about you?
All right, yeah, I think I'm rolling with the same thing. Over and under is 4.5 rounds, minus 200 for the over. So I think that's safe play to rock with that over. I just don't see Cruz knocking Marlon Vera out, and I don't really see Chito Vera hitting him with the Frankie Edgar, just front kicking his head off of his shoulders. I really just don't see that. So with that being said, if it goes to the later and longer it goes, I think it favors Marlon Vera more than it did Dominick Cruz. But I am not afraid to say I will eat my words if Dom Cruz can pull off the miraculous Dom Cruz decision win, the classic Dom Cruz decision win. I mean, this is a dude who I just feel like we're discounting him a little bit too much. Like the odds should be closer to a pick'em than what they are currently. So I do think, honestly, AJ, because I know you like that plus 225 decision, I kind of like that plus 210 money line, just $5 on Dom Cruz. You know what I mean? Whatever you want to throw on there, just something, just because. Come on, bro, this is Dominick Cruz we're talking about. But either way, that's your main event, folks. All right, AJ. Now let's talk about this co-main, which I thought was interesting that they placed this as a co-main event. But we have Nate the Freight Landwehr, right, versus David Onama, Glory MMA's prodigy right now, my man. So this is going to be an interesting fight, not simply because Nate Landwehr always brings violence, right? But because David Onama is a little bit of a sharpshooter, you know what I mean? He's a man who, let's just say, he can do it in a plethora of ways. He can knock you out, he could submit you, he could do whatever. But look at Nate Landwehr. You remember when he got that anaconda choke off of Ludovic Klein in his last fight? That came out of nowhere. And you see what Ludovic Klein is doing now. He's finally living up to the potential that we had saw in him the whole time. But let's talk about this, man. Nate Landwehr, he gets the co-main event. Nate the Train. And I think that this is a situation where he is massively discounted here because David Onama is so good, but I do think that this is another one of those, should the odds really be this slanted. Minus 290 for Onama, plus 245 for Landwehr. Do you agree with those odds there, AJ?
No, not at all, Derek. I agree. This one should be a little bit, not necessarily a pick'em, not a minus 150, but somewhere close around there, minus 175, whatever the case is, man. I think this one, a lot of people are doubting Nate Landwehr in this fight, man, especially because he seems like a reckless, wild man, but he's actually very, very technical. And like you said, finally living up to the potential that we've seen him have before, man. This is going to be a very fun fight. Even though Nate is going to be the smaller guy going in there, man, David Onama is still very, very strong, but Nate as well has that chaos factor in him, man. He can get in on the inside and get some things working, whether it's in the clinch, whether it's the ground game going. He has a lot of different ways in which he can get this fight done. I think it should be a little bit closer. What about you?
I definitely think it should be closer, especially because in David Onama's last fight against Garrett Armfield, he was struggling on the feet a little bit, so he had to mix it up and he had to take him down. Nate Landwehr can make you struggle on the feet, my man. He's going to walk you down. He's going to do some nasty things to you, and if you take him down, you remember when he fought Darren Elkins and he beat Darren Elkins a couple fights ago, right? That might not be a guy that you want to take down. So my question here is that for Nate Landwehr, he's very up and down. And what I mean by that is that like he can rise to the levels of competition, but he can also just underperform sometimes where we're like, but I thought you were this guy, and then now you came out and it looked like you weren't ready. Like, for an example, the Julian Erosa fight, where he just kind of got just like flatlined, like quick, jumping knee, boom, done. It was just like, oh, what happened? So do you think David Onama's best approach here is to do the inevitable, pull the Juliana Pena on Amanda Nunes, just bully the bully, like be like, oh, you think you're this guy who's going to just come walk me? No, I'm going to do that to you. Is that a viable path to victory here? Do you think Onama stays within himself, remains technical, and just kind of kickboxes with him and tries to pick him apart, mix in a little grappling?
I think he stays technical. I think it's his best bet right here. Stay technical because Nate's going to come out fast. He's very powerful and he's always looking for a finish. And the bad part, or if you want to fight fire versus fire on this one, the bad part about that is Nate is composed in the chaos. It looks like it's wild, but he's thinking, man, he's in there. He's having fun in the chaos. So I think if David Onama takes the approach of I'm just gonna pick my shots, make you annoyed, keep you a distance, kickbox this one, keep this one technical, make you frustrated. Then I go in, then I start really working my game. I think that's a better route for David Onama. What about you, Derek? Is this a bully in the bully situation, or are you seeing what I'm seeing?
I'd like to see him bully the bully. I'm not going to lie to you. I think that'd be an interesting game plan, but I also think he can definitely just win the fight based off of being technical, frustrating Landwehr. If this fight goes late round 3, who has the edge?
Ooh, late round 3. Man, it's weird. It's rough too because I feel like David Onama can get out grappled. If it depends on if it's standing or if it's wrestling. I'm gonna say Nate Landwehr, man. I think he might have the cardio advantage. What about you?
I think Landwehr is going to be in this fight the whole entire time. That's what makes him dangerous. Is that, I mean, look at these props, man. They're not giving him any love here. Plus 400 for the TKO, plus 550 for the decision, plus 1200 for the decision. They're giving him no love. I just think that he's going to be in this fight the whole entire time. David Onama, plus 175 for the TKO. Yes, Landwehr, he did get knocked out by Erosa and by Herbert Burns in his last 5, but I don't think that makes him a knockout-prone fighter. He's only been knocked out literally twice in his career. Those are the only 2 times. So I don't really see the knockout coming. I think Onama can win the decision here. Just because, bro, Nate Landwehr, former M1 champion, bro. Like, let's give the man a little respect right here. I just don't look at Nate Landwehr as some punching bag coming in here. I think that he's going to be a tough test for David Onama. Even though Onama is such a stud, so good, and he's been able to pull off miraculous feats. Look, 4 finishes in his last 5 fights. I think Nate Landwehr is going to make it tough, and he's going to use his veteranship to maybe lose a decision, because I'm picking Onama, so I think Onama does get a decision victory here. But if Onama does manage to pull off some miraculous finish, what do you see? Do you see a submission, or do you see a knockout?
Ooh, I see a knockout, if anything, man. Those long combos can get you in trouble, especially up against the cage when he's able to pick you apart and you're not able to, escape one way or the other. You're not able to slide out. That's really where I like David Onama the most, is in those long combos, because he's got power in both hands. And when you think, the power is in the right, you got to worry that left hook comes across and it puts you to sleep, especially too, since Onama can get out grappled. He has a tendency to kind of get careless in those long takedowns and then get taken down, or long combos and then get taken down, excuse me. He has really big knees too, knees up the middle. So if Nate's going to be shooting for stuff, he's got to watch those knees. So if anything, if there's a finish, I think it's a TKO. What about you?
You know what, man? Yeah, no, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. Submission, I think it's going to be tough, man. Both of them are pretty well versed in the submission game, but I just had a revelation right now. My revelation is that I do think that both of these fight styles, Landwehr is going to come out in a way where Onama's going to have to fight. I don't think that he's going to allow Onama to just sit there and be technical. He's going to have to fight. He's going to turn it into a scrap. And given that nature, even though they're at 145 pounds, if they scrap, if they get together and they just clash, it's kind of hard for me to see it going the distance now that I think about it. You know what I mean? Like, if they really sit down on their shots and start just saying back and forth who wants it more, I'm going to go Onama here. It's going to be tough just because I think Landwehr has more openings in his defense, right? More holes in the defense. And I'm gonna go with that plus 175 TKO prop right there. But I do think it's foolish not to at least hedge a little bit on Nate Landwehr, excuse me. Bro, plus 400 for the TKO. Throw $2 on there. I don't care what you throw on there. Throw literally $2, throw $5. You're gonna get like $20 in return with that plus 400 prop right there. But I'll take that David Onama TKO prop. Over and under is 1.5 rounds here, AJ. So I'm gonna go over. I think it's gonna be a later TKO right here. What do you think?
Over and under is 1.5. Even they're seeing the finish too for the odds makers. Yeah. I see what you're saying too. They sit down on the shots. It's a barn burner. I can see somebody going to sleep. Ooh, I'm gonna pick the decision though. I'm gonna go contrarian. I'm gonna stick with what I was thinking first. I'm going David Onama by decision.
Okay, I mean that's fair right there. Like I said, that's more of along the lines of like logically how it plays out in my mind, but I've come to find recently, man, I've been watching a bunch of these fights recently. All the Contender Series, PFLs, all that. I was like, conventional logic doesn't work. A lot of it is when two big boys get in the cage, listen, man, all bets go out the window right there. So that is your pick for your co-main event, David Onama. I got a TKO victory on the over. AJ's taking that over, that decision prop right there. And now, AJ, let's talk about I don't got any headshots, sorry, because, they're a little late to, throw anything up on ESPN for this, but Yazmin Jauregui versus Yazmin Lucindo, and this is a short notice bout for Yazmin Lucindo. Yazmin Jauregui was actually supposed to fight. Let me actually pull it up right now, man, because I think this is good to know. Yazmin Jauregui was supposed to fight, if my Tapology will load. She was supposed to fight Estela Nunes. You remember her, AJ, the mini Mike Tyson right there, with the Brazilian mini Mike Tyson. That would have been such a fun fight. However, you get another knockout specialist to a degree who's got a little more grappling chops than an Estela Nunes does. I'm going to tell you this right now, AJ. I've been watching Yazmin Jauregui. So one night, randomly, I had just bought Paramount Plus, right? And I'm switching through the channels, and I see they have Combate Global. That's actually one of the reasons why I bought Paramount, that subscription. This was many, many moons ago. And I'm watching, and I see this Mexican fighter, obviously Mexican fighter. It's a bunch of Latin fighters on that promotion, but you're just like going to town on this girl, man. I'm talking about all these punches, da-da-da-da-da-da, no bringing the guard back, nothing, just straight going crazy. And I'm just like, oh, who is this, man? Like, she a beast. And she over there, I think it was like a title defense or it was a title championship or whatever the case may be. And who do you know? It's Yazmin Jauregui. And I was like, dude, this girl's legit. I'm going to have to keep my eye on her. So I have, right? Intensely trains at that Entrom gym over there with Assassin Baby. And what do you know, man? She gets the call to the UFC. No contender series fight, no tough. Straight up just like, all right, man, we're going to book you. You're good. You're undefeated. Knockout artist at 115 pounds. Come on. Brother, it's time to shine right here. So she has obviously a lot of hype behind her. How do you end up on the third fight before the main event in your UFC debut when you're not even a known commodity? That's just important right there. But I think it's important to note that this short notice bout, I think, is going to be a harder fight for her to win, AJ. Because Yazmin Lucindo, when she gets that body lock on you, she takes you down every time. So the question is, can Yazmin Jauregui, who is a very talented striker, who has great jiu-jitsu, always practicing her jiu-jitsu, can she be within herself? And can she not go crazy with those strikes where she just gets body locked, tripped, and put on the ground? Because I think that's a very likely outcome here if she brings into the UFC that crazy, that reckless abandon style that I'm talking about. It's hard for me to describe in words, but I feel like you know what I'm talking about. So talk to me, brother. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, Derek. It's playground scrapyard style, man. Literally just swinging as much as she can. There's a couple fights I was watching for Yazmin Jauregui, and I'm glad you said the name, man, because I was struggling with it on the stream. But just literally aggressive. That's the first note I have for Jauregui is just aggressive. Literally, when she sees blood in the water, man, she will just swing left and right, just nonstop until until you drop or the ref says no mas. Man, Jauregui is vicious in there. Schoolyard bully. This is a scrappy fighter, and I think that's why she's up on, like you said, third fight from the main card in your UFC debut. There's a lot of hype behind this girl, man. And but I'm with you 100%. I think Lucindo, in those crazy, aggressive, just nonstop lefts and rights that a Jauregui can be throwing, if Lucindo just ducks under, gets the body lock, gets a trip. She has very powerful hips, man. Very strong hips, can stay on top, and a dominating ground fighter. That's where she wants to be. Lucindo wants to be on the ground, just throwing elbows, trying to look for submissions. That's her kind of style of fight. It's going to be interesting to see if Jauregui can stay composed and not just see red and go crazy.
Well, this is the other crazy thing about it, man, is that if Lucindo does manage to get the takedown, I think she's not only going to be at just an advantage, but a massive advantage, because she normally fights at a bigger weight class, man. Flyweight, right? So this is a strawweight contest. Normally fights at flyweight. It was 2 fights ago where she fought at 143 pounds, bro. So, like, she's massively bigger. Which is why I do see it a little troubling that Jauregui is such a big favorite in her UFC debut. Just because even though, yes, the other girl is an unknown commodity as well, if you look at Yazmin Jauregui, man, all strawweight fights, man, all strawweight fights. And then if you look at these knockouts, yeah, they're on the feet and stuff like that. But have you had, it's not like there's I haven't seen in her fights her really get tested, taken to the ground, held down there for like a solid minute and have to work off her back too much, man. Maybe I haven't watched enough film, but I just think that her number one path to victory, that reckless abandon style, just does not bode well in this matchup. But it's tough. It's too tough to know because of the unknowns right here. So, are you going heavy on this minus 190 line here, man? Like, do you really like this line? Because I like the line. I like Jauregui. I like the prospect, but like, something troubles me here. What do you think?
Yeah, Derek. Before I sent in the picks yesterday, I had Lucindo winning this one, man. Yeah, so this one gave me a lot of pause for concern, man. Very back and forth the entire time, and even on stream, though, I had Lucindo the entire time. I was like, man, because I like the aggressive, the pressure fighter, the lunchtime scrapyard fighter that Jauregui is. Until somebody sees that and they just, like I said, duck under, shoot for the hips. Now you're on your back. Next thing you know, all the power's gone, all the aggression's gone. You're eating some elbows to the face. It does give me a lot of pause for concern, especially because Lucindo, in the couple fights I watched, she's able to do that, able to see the fight, get things to the ground, and then get things working. Where you're right, maybe it's just because I didn't watch enough of the Jauregui fights. I didn't really see her get tested. I saw a lot of women crumbling to the pressure that is Jauregui. They see those fights coming, they see those punches coming, they just shell up, start eating some shots, and either they go down or the referee steps in. Now she's going to have a bigger, stronger, not more technical, not more well-rounded, but more comfortable in the chaos fighter than she's ever had, especially in the big lights. Things can go sideways in there, man. So this one, man, I've had a lot of back and forth, a lot of pause for concern. I like Jauregui a little more just because I'm rocking with the strikers. You know me, I always like to rock with the strikers in this one, but it does, there's a little bit of contention right there.
Yeah, no, I think those are all fair points. And it is important to note that Yazmin Lucindo has fought at strawweight before. She just fought more recently, like throughout lightweight, bigger weights right now. So maybe the weight cut will get to her a little bit, man, because it's been 2 years since she's fought at strawweight. The question now is methodology. Yazmin Jauregui, knockout artist, right? 80% finish rate. Yazmin Lucindo, if you look at her fights, man, she has a decision in her last fight, 2 knockouts before that. She got a bunch of knockout wins and all that stuff, submission wins. The question really becomes here. The UFC is a place where streaks come to die. Does Yazmin Jauregui's knockout streak die in her UFC debut, or does she keep on with the magic, man, and does she get her out of there? I do think there's a big gap on the feet. Like when it comes down to strictly striking, Jauregui it's a big gap. It's just a matter of if that takedown comes, it's gonna be hard to knock somebody out. What do you think?
Oh man, I think she's getting the knockout. I think she's getting the knockout. And Jauregui's won a couple decisions, but she is on a knockout streak right now. Her last 2 fights were knockouts. So I think she's staying with it. I think I'm going with the pressure. I'm taking that 225 KO for Jauregui. What about you?
Well, are you going over and under on this one? 2.5 rounds.
Under.
Under?
I'm gonna go early round, late round 1.
Okay. I'm gonna like the decision prop here, and the reason why is because I do think Lucindo is going to be able to work in that grappling a little bit and slow that forward momentum. But you're right, man. Jauregui, she goes downhill. It's tough for anybody to really handle that, man, because they all do crumble. They all literally just shell up, turtle up. And I'm talking about championship bouts. They just turtle up and be like, all right, you've thrown like 50 strikes at me. Like, what am I going to do here? So I like Jauregui here. The problem with handicapping this fight is that it's just difficult to know with the unknown commodities, UFC debuts. These are normally stayaways for betting situations right here. In terms of a pick, yeah, I like Jauregui here. Betting, I think Lucindo could make this interesting. So you like the plus 225 prop for Jauregui with the win. I like the plus 175 for a decision prop here. And then both of those are better than the minus 190 right there. So we'll rock with it right there, man. That is your UFC debut matchup on the main card. AJ, that was a tough one to call. But we got it. All right, my man. Now here's the one that we were talking about that's going to be very interesting. Devin Clark versus Azamat Murzakanov. And this is going to be an interesting fight because down at light heavyweight, Murzakanov fought Tafon the Don Chukwi in his last fight. It was a very touch-and-go fight because I had actually picked for Murzakanov. I think I picked for Devin Clark at the last second, like hedged on my Murzakanov bet. And it looked like, Devin Clark's pulling away. Murzakanov is tired. Or not Devin Clark. Tafon Chukwi, is pulling away. You know what I mean? Like Murzakanov, he's tired now. And then he just throws up a knee out of nowhere in that 3rd round and just flatlines the Don, which is something that you do not see a lot of men do. So Azamat Murzakanov, bro, this dude right now is 11-0. Great striking, bro. He comes out in that very bouncy karate style, right? Very bouncy. But here's the problem that I see here. He's a very low volume fighter. Very low volume fighter. Picks his spots. Very precise. And that's where the power comes in that precision. Devin Clark, though, we've seen how quickly he could jump on a double leg. And if he can get Murzakanov down to the ground, that is his path to victory. However, AJ, I've been thinking a lot about this recently. When you're talking about handicapping a fight, when you're talking about even picking a fight, you have to think about different tiers of like why a fighter is going to win. One of them has to be path to victory, clearly, right? Is it fair to say that Devin Clark, his path to victory, while it's a good one, is a very limited one in comparison to Azamat Murzakanov? I think Murzakanov has more paths to victory that are more likely to occur. What do you think?
It depends. You get somebody to the ground, elbow their face in, beat them up, TKO knockout. Also, if you don't, actually get them finished, then that's a decision win. I don't see either of these fighters submitting each other. Since Devin Clark's a freestyle wrestler, I don't really see him getting many submissions. Or you have Murzakanov, who can just stay on the feet, stay light and bouncy, knock you out with a couple very snappy left hand, big power over there too. Although he slows down, that was a big thing I was seeing in a couple of his fights. I forget which one it was. I'm gonna look real quick. It was the Nchukwi. It was the Nchukwi fight. Gets to the second round. Middle of the second round, you see him hands starting to get low. Kind of has this like lull to him a little bit, but comes back in the third, gives all he's got, catches you with a flying knee. But what if that knee doesn't land? And then you start getting a little tired. Then the gas tank starts working. I can also see a knockout and decision coming for both fighters. So I don't really know about more path to victory. Which ones are you talking about?
Well, so this is what I mean by that. Devin Clark, his path to victory is predicated on the takedown. If you don't get the takedown, it's going to be a long night. Murzakanov, he could stuff your takedowns. He could work on the feet, do whatever he wants on the feet, work the clinch, work all of those situations, and I still think have that path to victory, right? So that's kind of what I mean by that. When he's talking about when it gets to the later and he gasses out, I don't know that Murzakanov did give everything that he had left in that knee. I don't think so. I think that he still had that pop left. It's just you notice with all the karate fighters, even Michel Paeta, you start off bouncing that first round, come round 3, now you're flat-footed. Now you're just kind of, it's hard to maintain that for 3, 5-minute rounds. I just think that, like I said, the better path to victory, the more likely path to victory is keeping it on the feet and just working your game plan there, as opposed to, if I don't get the takedown, can I hang with Murzakanov on the feet? Can Devin Clark hang? Maybe. We don't know. I don't think so. I think Murzakanov is too precise, too much power, and Devin Clark has kind of folded a little bit when he's faced those real power hitters, because then you start getting desperate for the takedown, and the more desperate you get, now you're eating a knee, now you're eating an uppercut, now you're eating something nasty. So that's kind of what I mean by that. But I like that we have contention here, because that means that we're both seeing the fight play out a little bit differently. So let's talk about X's and O's here. I'm glad you pointed out Murzakanov has that nasty left hand that he spams a little bit, you know what I mean? He does tend to overuse it just a little bit and just try to hit the pipe home with it time and time and time again. But I want to put things into perspective here. He flatlined Tafon Nchukwi. I want to put that in perspective. That's not a simple thing to do. This is a behemoth of a man. And if you look at the, these two on the tail of the tape, Devin Clark is the bigger man, right? Murzakanov is 5'10", Clark is 6 foot. Devin Clark has a 4-inch reach advantage, which he's not going to use because he's not the big striker like Murzakanov is. So Murzakanov is going to have to kind of close that distance with that karate style and manage to avoid a takedown. If you look at the knockout victories, 8 knockout wins for Murzakanov. So this is a thing that man does a lot. 4 knockouts actually in his last 5. All 3 of them are in the first round. 1 of them is in that 3rd round, right? If you look at Devin Clark, his last win against William Knight, that was a hard-fought victory, man. Even though it ended in a knockout, that was a very back-and-forth hard-fought victory. Now let's be honest here, AJ. That was a heavyweight fight, too. Let's be honest here. Between these two fighters, William Knight on one hand, Azamat Murzakanov on one hand. We're talking about technical stand-up prowess. I think you have one man throwing big right hands, big shots over at you. Then you got Murzakanov, who's very missile-precise, laser-like right there. It's just a big difference right here. So, honestly, do you think that if this fight stays on the feet, like Clark has a chance to win this?
No. If this stays on the feet, no, man. No, not at all. Don't get me wrong. Murzakanov, this dude's very bouncy, light on his feet, like you said, explosive. He likes the blitzes, where the one thing that kind of gives me a little contention, you're sitting there, like you said, he's a little low volume, so he'll sit there, he'll bounce around, he'll spam that left hand, keep it going, and then he'll blitz in on you, and that's where he can kind of have a little bit of trouble with Devin Clark, because if Clark can read that blitz, get to those hips, that's where the takedown comes in. But if this stays a striking match, the karate guy is gonna get it going, man. This is a guy who's used to seeing people in there where he's bouncing around, they're a little flat-footed, and you're able just to pick them apart, keep things moving, keep them going, stay at a range in which is more beneficial to you and not get your hips grabbed. That's Murzakanov style all day. But like I said, that little bit of that blitz attack, that can be a detriment to you if you're not, super cautious on stepping off, cutting the angle and getting away, cutting the angle and dipping out. Where if Devin Clark can, see that coming, shoot in, get to the hips, and then cut his own angle and then get the takedown, that's kind of where Devin Clark, prospers. But the thing that scares me about Devin Clark, man, he's not really a specialist in anything. Sure, he was a freestyle wrestler, and as much as wrestlers kind of have their shine in the UFC, I wouldn't say he's this like dominating pressure wrestler who's going to always get the takedown no matter what. He's kind of more of just a fighter, just a fighter's fighter who's going to be able, not a jack of all trades either. He's just kind of good at fighting, good at scrapping. So he's in there with some of the best of them to do it. So, like I said, it's not really, he's not going to have a good shot on the feet. He does throw a lot of kicks, but he doesn't really mask them that well. He'll just kind of throw the kick out there. And if you're kicking with a karate guy or especially an explosive striker like that, you'll want to be masking those kicks. So do I think he has a chance on the feet? No, not really. He's going to get outclassed. But could he get the fight to the ground? I'd say, 7 out of 10 times. Hell yeah. What about you?
I don't know, man. I think it's going to be harder. It's going to be harder than that for Devin Clark. And the reason why is I think Murzakanov just kind of freezes his opponents with that karate style that he has, man. If you look at the Dana White Contender Series fight, which is not indicative of the level of competition Devin Clark is, but he'll just stand in front of you and literally freeze you. Just stand, just chill, wait for that opening to pop up. And he's giving you little feints the whole time, little feints all over the place. And you're just like, do I shoot? I'm going to run into a knee. What do I do? If you wind up on that big right hand, it's going to be a short night for him. So, listen, man, I'm going to be honest with you. I like Azamat Murzakanov here, and I did go back and forth because like all of this is all my how would you say? The reasons why I think that my pick might not work is because if Devin Clark lands the takedown, and he can get it successfully, and if it's like, 30 seconds in, and he just lands it, and you're like, oh, shit, that was way easier than I thought. Yeah, all right, well, it picks out the window. I like Murzakanov. I think he'll be able to stuff the takedowns, keep the fight on the feet, and I think that he knocks out Devin Clark. I think that he gets it done. I think it's going to be a precision thing. He's going to time him, land him with that big shot, man, and I'm telling you, this dude has real pop in his hands. This isn't like this dude gets some fake knock. No, this dude knocks people out. I like Azamat Murzakanov here. The over and under here is 2.5 rounds. I'm taking the under. And I like this like a second round knockout here. How do you see it, brother?
2.5 rounds. I'm going Devin Clark, and I'm going TKO, man. I'm going 2.5. Yeah, I'm taking the over. It's going to happen in the third, I think.
Damn, you're going TKO Devin Clark. All right, so let me look. Now, I just want to look just out of curiosity, man. And this is, no disrespect or nothing. We're just going to take a look at when's the last time Devin Clark won via knockout. And you have to go back to, has he ever won?
His last fight, William Knight.
Oh, yeah, but before that.
He's
not even in the UFC. Before that, he doesn't even have a knockout in the UFC. So, all right, long shot, plus 600 TKO for Devin Clark, man. And if he can get that ground and pound going, he can do what he did to William Knight. But easier said than done. I like Murzakanov. AJ likes Clark here. And, here's one of the contention bouts, man. And let's move on to the last one. All right, well, man. Fun fight. A little bit of a mismatch, though, right? Bruno Silva, Blindado versus GM3, man. Gerald Meerschaert III. And while GM3, this dude, at any given moment, man, he could submit you. You know what I mean? Yeah, you lost your last fight to Krzysztof Jotko. But if you look at those 3 fights, Fabinski, where he guillotined him, Mahmoud Murdov, huge upset. Dude was like a plus 500 underdog there. Ended up rear naked choke on Murdov. And then the fight that he was losing against Dustin Stoltzfus, where he came back and choked out Stoltzfus. He can submit you at any given time. I just think Bruno Silva is a dude who we have to give much more respect for. We already had a lot of respect for this dude, right? But after the Alex Paeta performance and how Paeta has been starching everybody, I think we need to respect Bruno Silva a lot more because Sean Strickland ate a left hook from Paeta and crumbled. Silva ate like a bunch of shots from Paeta and just he was a little wobbled, but he was able to stay in the fight for a decision. I'm not announcing Paeta being this massive, he's the next champion right here, you know what I mean? Even though he's about to fight for a title. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying Bruno Silva, man, to hang with him, impressive now that the fight has aged well. Let's talk about this matchup here. I don't want to be disrespectful here, AJ, because I have nothing but the utmost respect for GM3 and what he's accomplished in the game. But what are the odds that this fight gets out the first round? That Bruno Silva just doesn't knock him out in the first round? What are the odds on that?
Ooh, I think pretty good, man. GM3, he's having a little bit of a rough streak. Don't get me wrong. I think it makes it out of the first. Are you expecting not?
Let me point at something. You see that right there for the good folks who are watching? Minus 160 for a TKO prop on Bruno Silva. And that's only growing. That's not like it's shrinking. That's growing. I think it's rough, man. I think that Bruno Silva might give GM3 the Khamzat Chimaev treatment, man, and just hit him with that one shot, one hitter quitter. And the reason why I say that is because let's not forget, it's not like Bruno Silva is this dude who doesn't know how to do jiu-jitsu, who's gets on the ground, it's game over. The dude's jiu-jitsu is phenomenal. He has phenomenal jiu-jitsu, but he's of the Gregory Rodriguez mold where he's well, why use jiu-jitsu when I can just knock you out? You know what I mean? So it's at a detriment sometimes, but I think that he has the wherewithal to be able to avoid the Gerald Meerschaert grabbing him, body lock, pull guard. I think he avoids that. He keeps it on the feet, man. And I think that on the feet, this is going to be a very tough fight for GM3 to win. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have too much of an assessment here. I got Bruno Silva first round knockout.
I can see it. Don't get me wrong, bro. And the thing that worries about me is GM3, even though he's so experienced at 34 and 15, he's got a little bit of that Dusko in him. He's got a little bit of when the pressure starts coming. And I think that minus 160 prop comes a little bit from the Hamzat Starch Fest that Gerald Meerschaert was on the tail end of. Man, I'm doing him a little bit more justice. I'm gonna go Bruno Silva TKO round 2. What's the over and under?
Over and under is 2.5 rounds, brother. Over and under is 2.5 rounds on this fight. It's a pick 'em, minus 115 a pop for the over and for the under. So the odds makers are a little undecided. I just think that if you look at when Wellington Turman fought Bruno Silva, right? What happened? Wellington Turman has good hands, excellent jiu-jitsu, and he got starched bad. You know what I mean? In a fight that he was kind of winning, and then Silva hits you, and it's different. It just impacts you differently. So I'm not, like I said, no disrespect for GM3. I think that he's a formidable opponent. The submission prop on him plus 525, which is even crazy for a dude who submits everybody, right? This dude has 26 submission wins in his career, and is a plus 525 for the submission. So that's something to think about. Minus 160 TKO prop for Bruno Silva. I'm gonna be honest with you folks. Would I take the prop? I'm saying I think he wins by TKO. It's tough because there's like no value in the money line, minus 310. Hardly value in the TKO prop, minus 160. I don't know, man. This could be just a stay away. This could honestly just be a stay away in terms of the betting perspective, but just for the sake of the pick, yeah, we'll rock with the TKO here, Bruno Silva. But AJ, man, the last thing on here is that, like, I'm not saying there's no path to victory for GM3. It's just like, how did GM3 even initiate a takedown on Bruno Silva? I'm saying this dude is so well-rounded. Like, how do you can't initiate the takedown, or else you're in risk of getting submitted or ground and pound finished. You can't stand with him, or you're probably going to get knocked out. This is just a rough matchup, right?
Yeah, it's a rough matchup. It's a very rough matchup. And I think one of the big problems for GM3 is he's always game no matter the opponent. And sometimes that doesn't lead to the best of things, man. And as much as you can't give GM3 your neck because he will take it home with you, yeah. I think Bruno Silva is just a little bit better than to be caught in those kind of situations, which it could happen. I mean, that plus 525 submission is, it's looming. It's there. It could happen. Will it? I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think for GM3, he does have a reach advantage, right? We're looking at about like a 3.5-inch reach advantage. Pop that jab, man. Try to keep him at distance. But like I said, I anticipate a short night. So that is your pick right there. And that is the last of the fights that we're going to be breaking down here, folks. So those are your prop bets, all that fun stuff. And the last two fights that we want to revisit real fast is the Ariane Lipski versus Priscila Cachoeira and the, who's the other fight, AJ? Cynthia Calvillo, Nunes, right? So let's talk about Ariane Lipski versus Priscila Cachoeira. Listen, man, 11-4 for Priscila Cachoeira, 14-7 for Ariane Lipski, both coming off of a win, both Brazilian, right? Kind of same stature. Ariane Lipski has a little bit of a reach advantage, but we know one thing for sure. Both of these fighters are strikers, right? We know that for sure. Ariane Lipski, we do think she's a more technical striker. We think she's the better striker of the two, but the difference here is that I think Priscila Cachoeira is just more game of a fighter than Ariane Lipski is, personally, man. You know what I mean? I think that when it comes down to making the fight a scrap, making it a brawl, Priscila Cachoeira is definitely going to be in favor right there. So my question to you in regards to this matchup here is that let's talk about what we were talking about a little bit earlier in the opening. I like Cachoeira simply because I originally picked Lipski. Bro, you miss weight, right? Pretty bad, like 3 pounds. You said you had COVID, probably didn't allow you to train properly. They rebook you a week later, and now you're supposed to be healthy. Now you're supposed to be ready to go. Does that make sense to you? Like, how much does that worry you right there?
It were a lot, Derek, and I'm kind of hoping it was COVID is more of an excuse than anything, because it worries me a lot. Because if you've actually had COVID, it can drain your stamina, and a week later is kind of a real short jump to come back at it, man. And you're right. If this is a dog fight, Priscila Cachoeira is a little bit bigger of a dog, but how do you beat a bruiser? Is technical up, piece him up. So, yeah, I know it worries me when you were talking about it before and the mics were cold and I picked Lipski, and then we said the COVID, the whole sickness, the missing weight, all that stuff. I was like, well, fuck, like, because it does come into play, especially, you start moving, you start shaking in there, you can't breathe, then your mental starts getting cloudy, everything's kind of starts coming in on you. It's a scary place to be. So it's a worry fight for me too.
Do you think that this fight hits the mats?
Yes. Yes, I do actually. Both strikers coming in there. I think somebody gets stunned. They're in a clinch situation. Both fighters going together, clinch it up, get to the ground. I see that happening. What about you?
But who shoots? I think Cachoeira shoots, if anything, to be honest with you, man. I think that she had a little bit of, she tasted the success on that shot against Ji Young Kim in her last one and was like, I think we might need to replicate that a little, especially if she gets tagged up a little bit, gets hurt. She is the zombie girl, man. She absorbs a lot of damage, a lot of punishment. But bro, in that third round, when she came in and she just said reckless spending, I don't care, I'm walking forward with elbows, with everything. That's what wins these rounds right there, man. If she does that to Lipski and gets some takedowns, she could win this fight, man. But yeah, that's basically how I see. You got anything else on this fight, man?
Yeah, no, I see Cachoeira shooting for the takedown first. This one's going to be a sleeper of a scrap, personally. This one's going to be a fun fight. Yeah. Like I said, I'm a little worried about the sickness. Hopefully it was an excuse more than an actual thing, but we'll see.
I mean, listen, I don't know if she's ever missed weight before. That was a bad weight miss right there. But that's your pick right there. I'm rolling with Cachoeira. AJ's rolling with Lipski right there, and that is a rebooking from last week. And now, AJ, Cynthia Calvillo versus Nina Nunes, man. Listen, all logic kind of points to Cynthia Calvillo. She's the grappler, right? She's the bigger fighter. She's going to grab Nina Nunes, who has historically been unable to avoid getting taken down and unable to get back up to her feet most times. And she's basically just going to put it on her. But both fighters are coming off of a loss, kind of on a losing streak, right? The only difference, though, is that Nina Nunes is kind of a big fighter for strawweight, right? So, like, 5'5", it's going to be the same, you know what I mean, reach, same height, basically. And I just wonder if Cynthia Calvillo, is she truly going to be super stronger than Nina Nunes or not? That's going to be the one, kind of takeaway right there. AJ, when they're talking about winning by methodologies, oddly enough, I mean, Nina Nunes, she has more knockouts than Cynthia Calvillo. Cynthia Calvillo is pretty much a submission or a decision fighter. But like I said, for women fights, man, I mean, mostly going to decisions. Average fight time a little longer for Nunes than it is for Calvillo. Path to victory is what we need to talk about here. Similar to the Azamat Murzakanov fight, right? If Nunes can keep it on the feet, I think that she can give Calvillo problems. But if Calvillo gets a takedown, which she's openly stated, yeah, that's my plan. I'm going to use my boxing. I'm going to get a takedown, and then I'm going to win. If she does that, she can definitely do it, man. Obviously we have differing picks here, man, but like, who do you think has the edge in this matchup in terms of just like being the better fighter? Not the matchmaking, not the stylistic, but just who's the better fighter?
I think Nunes has more potential to be the better fighter. It's just sometimes on fight night she doesn't really perform that well. That's the big thing that scares me about Nunes. I bet on Nina Nunes a couple different times and let me down more often than not. And I think it's because on fight night sometimes she just doesn't perform to her fullest potential, and that's really what worries me. Because I think she's the better, more well-rounded fighter. Yeah. It's just on that night, sometimes, whether it's nerves, whether it's, whatever X, Y, and Z that could come into play, doesn't always get it done. That's what worries me. Yeah, no, I hear you. And I definitely think there is a cause for concern, because even though this is what's interesting to me, AJ. So I think that the odds makers kind of do this from time to time. Actually, let me just point this out before I talk about that. Look at the takedown defense, 76% takedown defense for Nina Nunes. So it's a little bit better than, I guess, in my mind, I remember it. But this is the thing. Odds makers, oftentimes, they will say, all right, we're going to cancel the fight. We'll look at the odds, right? The fight got canceled. We're going to take it off. They're going to rebook it. And when they rebook it, they'll book it at heavier odds for the person who was already the favorite, right? Like, they'd really just double down on it. But what's interesting is if you look at the line on these fighters, minus 160 for Calvillo, plus 140 for Nunes. That's almost the same exact line as it was last time around. So there's no movement. So that goes to show that, what does that go to show? Nina Nunes, do you remember that she actually pulled out because I think she had an illness like the day before the fight or the day of the fight? So a couple weeks, almost a month or something has passed, and now, all right, you back on, you feeling good, all that. And that's kind of why I'm wondering for Ariane Lipski, that type of situation right there. If you look at the odds, man, she's even heavier of a favorite, minus 190, plus 160. You know what I'm saying? It's just something to think about. What do you think about how the odds makers are placing those odds there? That's interesting too, because it is a very common thing for them to double down on their favorite too. It gives me even more pause for concern for the Calvillo pick, because I feel like Calvillo should have swelled to even more of a favorite, but now they're not. Now there might be something else they're seeing. I don't know, man.
So
I don't know.
Let's take a look at a couple of these props, and I just want to know, out of curiosity, what are you thinking here? So for Cynthia Calvillo, her decision prop is plus 150, her knockout prop is plus 1,000, and her submission prop is plus 350. For Nina Nunes, we're looking at plus 175 for a decision, plus 800 for a TKO, plus 2,000 for a submission. So, I mean, the odds makers thinking that Calvillo is more likely to edge out a decision. I think Nunes gets the decision in this one personally. I think that's how she's going to get it done. But how do you like Calvillo, man? Decision, TKO, submission? What do you think?
I was leading a little bit more towards decision off the bat. I kind of like that TKO. What'd you say the TKO was again?
TKO is looking like plus 1,000 for Cynthia Calvillo.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm going decision. I'm going decision. That's what I liked off the bat. But thinking through the fight, getting a takedown, beating her up on the ground, then I could kind of see that happening. But I'm gonna go with the decision.
Okay, and let's talk about the Ariane Lipski Priscila Cachoeira one. For decision, plus 145 decision for Lipski, plus 250 for Cachoeira. However, it's a plus 625 TKO prop for Cachoeira and plus 450 for Lipski. What do you like there?
Ooh, I like the decision again. As much as I could see a Lipski knockout, Cachoeira's a dog. So I'm taking the decision. I'm
going TKO, brother. I'm gonna bet it all on red right here. You know what I mean? I'm betting it all on red, going on Priscila Cachoeira using those heavy hands and getting Lipski out of there. I do not trust the medical situation going on right there, man. And for that reason, I'm just going all out and I'm going extreme. So, folks, that's full coverage right there. But what do you think about that, AJ?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a brave pick, and I can see it going down. But no, that's for the full fight card, man. It's going to be a real fun fight night.
Absolutely. That's full coverage right there. That is your entire main card. I do want to just point out while we get out of here, AJ, on the outro, man, we're just going to talk about a couple of these quick fights, man, and I just want you to tell me who you're leaning towards, right? Angela Overkill Hill on short notice versus Loopy Godinez in Angela Hill's hometown. Who are you leaning towards?
Loopy. I'm leaning towards Loopy, man. I like Loopy Godinez a lot. Don't get me wrong, though. Angela Hill's a dog.
Absolutely. Mowgli Benitez versus Charlie Ontiveros right here, AJ.
Mowgli.
I think he gets it done, too. Jason Witt, Josh Quinlan. This was rebooked from last week, right? After they had Josh Quinlan tested positive for a metabolite that he did not get suspended for. So who do you like?
I'm leaning towards the M3 metabolite and Josh Quinlan, brother. What about you?
I'm taking the Witt upset right there, man. And then we already talked about our sleepers right there. Yusuf Zalal, Damon Blackshear. And who's our other one? Odie Osborne, Tyson Nam right there. It's a lot of fun fights. The only one we didn't talk about is Martin Boudet versus Lukas Brzeski. Sorry, I butchered the name. I like Martin Boudet in that fight, man. Knockout artist. I think he gets the job done. You like Martin Boudet?
Me too. Me as well. Yep.
Sounds good. So, folks, literally, that's the whole entire card for you. UFC San Diego. It should be a fun one. It should be a great one out there in sunny California. Change of pace, fans. It'll be fun. Tune in on Saturday. Prelims start at 1:30 Pacific time. So definitely tune in. Give us a follow on Twitch. Santa Fe Bomber from my man AJ. Tap Napper Snap from me. My man AJ has been diligently live streaming his breaking down the fights, man. So if you want an inside look at the process, go check him out. AJ, you got any last words for the people?
Man, you said it best, Derek. Go check us out. Y'all see all the links down below. We're always over here doing it, man, putting out the grind. We're getting it going. But as always, man, check out the home, the hub, bloodywaterpodcast.com, your favorite fighters' favorite fight show. We got everything you ever want, man, whether it's breakdowns, analysis, odds. You already know you watch the entire show, but we do love the support, the push. And Derek said it, man, we're already past 420. You got 421 subscribers. The next step is up to that 500, and you get what you ask for, and we're asking you to share it with your friends. Give a like, leave a comment, whatever the case is, man. We love the support, all the going forward, man. We really do appreciate it, and we're gonna keep grinding. It's gonna be a very fun week of fights, and we'll be back on Sunday with it again. Or Monday, excuse me.
There we go. Sunday, Monday, one of these days. We'll be back, folks. You know what time it is. That is it for us. Until next time, folks. Peace.